Mariah here, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you a 5-year update of life in Puerto Rico. I moved from California to Puerto Rico on April 6th of 2018. I only anticipated to be in Puerto Rico for 3 years, and here I am now 5 years later, and I'm going to be giving you my entire experience of what life has been here. I'm going to be talking about relationships, business, the tax incentives, quality of life, safety, not speaking Spanish, and what that experience is like here on the island. So I want to start out by just going over my general life and happiness. And so life in Puerto Rico is a really interesting thing because you get to live in an absolutely stunning place. Of course, internally, Puerto Rico can be a little rough around the edges. When you're talking about the beach, you're talking about the mountains, you're talking about the weather, the scenery, the vegetation here. It is absolutely stunning and gorgeous. And one thing I did not realize was how important that was for me personally. Now I could never live anywhere that wasn't just absolutely beautiful and stunning. It adds such a special, unique dynamic to your life. And now it's something that is necessary, something that I have to have, just living in a beautiful place. What I realized the other day, and I'm like, you know what? This seems so obvious, but I was sitting there on the beach reading a book, looking at the ocean, and I was like, wow, it's so obvious, but the amount of energy that is just being, thrown around this place when it comes to the energy from the ocean just has tremendous energy. Once you just watch the waves crash and just understanding how much you have to respect the ocean, it is just such a different type of energy. And I really realized this when I started traveling a lot. And by far my best traveling experience have always been when I've traveled to islands. Whether that was the islands in Portugal or some islands in Mexico or just living life here in Puerto Rico, there is something different about living on an island. The energy is, you can't really describe it, you just have to experience it for yourself. I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? I am not traveling anywhere unless it is actually an island. Because when you compare your life in Puerto Rico to travel, from my experiences, it's hard to beat Puerto Rico in many ways. So my general life and my happiness, I feel like, has never been better. It's off the charts. I always am looking forward to the times that I get to come back to Puerto Rico. If I'm off the island, I just want to get back here. This place feels like home. And it took a little bit of time for that to actually happen. I remember when I first moved here, I was always looking forward to my next trip back to California. And now being in Puerto Rico, it's like I don't really want to leave that often. So I have become extremely attached to this place. I try not to be too attached to things, but I must admit that I am pretty darn attached to Puerto Rico. This place is just, there's like a gravitational pull that I feel to always make my way back here as soon as possible. There's something, a lot of things in Puerto Rico are just hard to describe, hard to explain, but when I am in certain areas of California and there's, visual poverty, there's just like not any hope, or there's just a different type of energy, I would say. When I pass through areas that are like more poverty-driven areas in Puerto Rico, I don't feel that sadness as much. I don't feel that heaviness, because the difference here is that people really prioritize quality time with people, time with family and friends, being outside, enjoying the small things, and you could really feel that at a very deep level here. You know what's important when I bring out the mini mic. I would like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Aura. Aura is a one-stop shop when it comes to fraud protection, identity theft protection, VPN services, password manager, parental controls, and they even have family plans available. See, it's really difficult to go through the internet and try to find out where all of your personal information is scattered all over the deep, dark web. But with Aura, they take care of that for you. And I know your deep, dark little secret that you keep all of your passwords on your Notes app. That is a big no-no. You need to use Aura. Get your password manager all set up so that you never have to worry about your passwords again, and you can store them safely and securely. It's so convenient. You have all of these services built into one, so that it's a one-stop shop. Online privacy is important. It's something that you should really consider. And what's great is that you could try Aura today free for 14 days by going to aura.com/monetize. Keeping your personal information off of the internet is extremely important. Take that task off of your plate. Let Aura take over that particular task, and you can have peace of mind knowing that your information is being kept safe. So let's go over the tax incentives. So many of you might be watching this because you're interested in Act 60. And so with Act 60, it's an umbrella, and what most people actually do not understand is that a lot of Puerto Ricans can actually use a Puerto Rico tax incentive. So the ones that people know most about is 0% capital gains, as well as 4% corporate tax for exporting services outside of Puerto Rico. There are many other tax incentives. There's the Young Entrepreneurs Act, which is if you're 35 or under, you can start a business and not pay any taxes on the first $500,000 or within the first 3 years. There's also tax incentives when it comes to tourism, okay? Let's say you want to create an Airbnb, a bed and breakfast. There's 40% tax credits as well as only a 4% tax. Those are all available to locals here as well, which is really great. People do not talk about that enough, but almost all the tax incentives are also available to locals as well, which is really awesome. And you can actually see it. You can see it having a massive impact on Puerto Rico. When I look back at 5 years ago and what was available on Airbnb versus what is available now, the creativity and the level of just really nice places has been elevated quite dramatically. And it's beautiful to see because when I've gone to Mexico, it's like, gosh, why can't we have nice things in Puerto Rico? It just seems like, there's a lot of outdated things aren't well taken care of, but that has really shifted lately and it's exciting. And I'm excited because I want people to have a positive experience when they come here. And I think that is really improving over time, and I just absolutely love to see it. So with the tax incentives, things have gotten a little weird over the years where all of a sudden they're throwing an extra, $5,000 filing fee here and there. And they have actually changed the tax incentives over time in terms of having to buy a property, not having to buy a property, how many employees that you need. And so things have kind of shifted over time, but things have been actually pretty quiet lately. With Joe Biden talking about nearly doubling capital gains taxes, that could have a whole new rush of people coming here. And in that case, I could see them potentially making it even harder when it comes to getting the decree for 0% capital gains tax. They might raise that to 4%. They might, require a massive investment on the island. We just don't know exactly what it's going to entail, but that's always a possibility. You always have to be cautious and aware that the government might try to do something there. So business opportunity. As many of you know, I started a car rental business here in Puerto Rico 2 years ago. I actually started it on the 3-year anniversary of moving to Puerto Rico. And so business here is it's never easy in general, but when you put Puerto Rico into the mix, there's more regulation, there's just a lot of just taxes and fees, and a lot of things that just come your way that you do not anticipate. And anytime you're dealing with government agencies, it just takes an extended period of time. Things are more challenging here. So although I see Puerto Rico as a place with massive opportunity, and in my opinion, I see more opportunity here than in most areas of California, like where I'm particularly from, the opportunity here is off the charts. There are so many gaps that need to be filled, and there are people that want to pay money and willing to pay money. See, Puerto Rico is actually not a very cheap place to live. It's quite expensive. It's not cheap to travel here. You're not going to find a very good place for, $50 to $75 a night versus if you were somewhere in Europe, you could find something pretty decent in that price range. It's not going to really happen as much here. If you're coming here to travel, plane tickets are a lot more than they used to be when it comes to inflation has really hit hard there. When it comes to flights, car rentals, Airbnbs, it's not really a cheap place to visit. And so people understand that and they're willing to pay for experiences when it comes to tourism. People are willing to pay. And so the opportunity when it comes to businesses here, in my opinion, is absolutely off the charts. Of course, you're looking at more challenges, but you have to also consider, if you start a business that's tourism related, you're getting a 40% tax credit. You're paying 4% taxes. I mean, there are trade-offs, but the trade-offs, in my opinion, are worth it. And that's what happens when people decide to move here or not. They come to Puerto Rico, they fill things out, and they have to ask themselves, are the trade-offs worth it? For some people, the conveniences of getting certain things delivered here, it's improved dramatically since I got here 5 years ago, but it isn't like the States. You can't have those expectations coming into here. The most important thing about life in Puerto Rico is managing your expectations and accepting Puerto Rico for what it is. A lot of things do not make sense here, okay? But you just have to be okay with that and understand it and be flexible and work around it. There are people I know that have been here for many years and they're almost surprised and they still tend to get angry about things that just don't make sense here, things that are inconveniences, but I have chosen to accept Puerto Rico for what it is. And I think that's one of the most important things about moving here. If you cannot accept Puerto Rico for what it is, and you have these really high expectations, you will be disappointed and you will not enjoy it. So I think having a positive attitude, understanding trade-offs of Puerto Rico, and for example, coming here and not speaking Spanish. If you have the resources and if you're moving here for tax incentives, you probably have the resources to make your life a lot easier when it comes to dealing with government agencies, things like getting your car registered, finding insurance. Here's an example. Someone was going down the wrong way on a one-way street the other day. They were going so slow, I didn't know that it was possible to even get in a car accident going that slow, or not an accident, but a fender bender. And so the person's mirror knocked off my tail light. And I called their insurance 7 times and I was hung up 7 times after pressing 1 for English, getting a representative that didn't speak English, and asking them if they could transfer me to someone who spoke English. I got hung up on 7 times, but I choose to not get pissed off and angry about it. Like, okay, maybe I'll try sending an email. And those are just things you have to anticipate, and it's the norm. And not speaking Spanish here is challenging. And I had a week, sometimes it feels more challenging than other times. For example, AAA roadside assistance. I called them to pick up my scooter to take it to the shop because it's not starting. They never showed up. They never called me. They literally never showed up. This is AAA, okay? AAA operating in Puerto Rico. They did not show up. So then the next day, I'm like, all right. Thank God I wasn't on the side of the road waiting for them. The next day I request one. Great. Someone calls, 4 hours after they said they were gonna be here, said that someone's on the way. Awesome. The tow truck driver calls me. He doesn't speak English, I don't speak Spanish. If I want my life to be easier here, I need to learn how to speak Spanish. And so, should I have tried harder to speak Spanish? Yes. Do a lot of people that move here learn Spanish? No. It's really hard, it's really challenging. I can't hear and understand the accent here. It's really challenging for me. I'm not gonna lie, I've been kind of lazy when it comes to learning Spanish. So he calls me, trying to organize getting here, not very good. So then I text him. There's typically always a solution. So then I'm trying to text him, use a translator, hey, this is where I'm at. He arrives and it's just challenging, right? Just a challenging of getting everything situated, getting my scooter on the back. Before I know it, I'm his assistant tow truck driver, getting my scooter situated on the back of his truck. And so it is possible to get by in Puerto Rico without speaking Spanish, but yes, it's going to be a lot more challenging. But I've just learned to accept it as it is. And for example, going to a restaurant, I'm probably not ever gonna get exactly what I want because I can't describe exactly what I want and make certain modifications to things. It's kind of hard to always get exactly what you want here when you don't speak Spanish, but I've just accepted that for what it is, and I end up just cooking a lot at home. And I'm okay with that. So when it comes to housing here, when I first got here, I paid $900 for a 500 square foot studio that faced the city in a condo building on the 14th floor. Not updated, not nice at all. And so I have been very fortunate when it comes to finding really great deals. Everyone talks about how crazy rent is here. If you want something super nice, yeah, you're gonna pay 10 to if you wanna be in Dorado Beach, you could be paying up to $55,000 a month. And you can find nice places for cheaper. You just have to look hard, and it's no easy task. I have someone that I know that's been here for 3 months at this point, and they're still looking for a place, but they're being patient and intentional with finding the right place for them. So if you're in a rush, yeah, you're probably not gonna be that happy with what you're getting, but if you have the time to find a place you really want, you're probably gonna find something a little bit better that you want. The prices of housing and rent have come down a little bit since the peak, but things are still high. This is a very expensive place to live. It is shocking, like life in San Juan is a lot more expensive than where I was living in California. When it comes to food, when it comes to rent, when it comes to everything, much more expensive here. So don't come here thinking like, oh, it's an island, it's cheap. That is not the case. This is not a cheap place to live. But you can be creative and take your time and find ways around it. You know, for example, I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I'm paying $1,500 a month and it is an excellent deal. I love my place, the location's awesome. I never want to leave here. And so it just takes time to find the right place. When I first moved here, every single year I was in a different place. I moved every year because I didn't really like the places I was living all that much, but I actually found a place and now it's been 2 years since I've been here. Relationships here are something that surprised me. Puerto Rico attracts very unique people. Very freedom-driven, successful business people. They're always looking to improve their lives. People are so open and so kind here, and the quality of people that you meet is off the charts. I never factor that into the equation, but you meet people that are like in the best of their industry, doing phenomenal things. And so if you're someone that is looking to partner with people, invest in different projects, Puerto Rico is a really great place for that. There's so much community aspect when it comes to meetups and meeting other people to find those relationships that can really flourish into something really big. What's so cool here is that it feels like a giving community. People are so willing to open up their homes to people that they don't know or barely know, to host dinners, and people are so open to sharing their knowledge. That is like one really common thing across the board here is how open people are of sharing their business knowledge, partnering with you. It's like a really special thing because it's so easy for people to like not want to talk about their business, hoard it to themselves, but people here are just so open in sharing and wanting to partner and just grow together, which is really special and really cool. So the food here, you know, if you're trying to eat somewhat healthy, not the easiest. I find myself cooking at home a lot, and that's just because I like control over food. So it's not like, you know, if you're like a super foodie, then you will probably don't have expectations if you're a foodie here, is all I gotta say. Some people will disagree with me on that, and there are good places and good things in Puerto Rico, but in terms of like consistency, it's just not there. Don't really want to get too much into the food thing. When it comes to social life, this place is an adult playground. I have so much fun here. There are so many things to do. When it comes to just in San Juan alone, I like to get out of San Juan, explore outside the island. For 5 years, I've actually spent a lot of time exploring getting out of San Juan, day trips to the mountains, to the beaches, and all sorts of small little hidden neighborhoods all over the island. And I still feel like I have hit less than 1% of this place. Just when you think you've kind of seen it all, someone opens up a cute little restaurant on the side of a mountain with an amazing view, serving like the coldest beers in town and like the most tasty empanadillas. And that is one thing that I love about this place, that I don't feel bored here. You know, what's really crazy is that I used to have this deep desire to travel constantly. You know, the travel bug bit me and I just wanted to be going. Puerto Rico feels like vacation every day. And that's the coolest part about this place, is that it feels like vacation every single day. I go on my morning walks by the ocean. It's like, oh my gosh, I live here. I was sitting at breakfast with a couple of friends the other day and we're like, oh my gosh, you guys, like, we live here. We live here. It feels like a dream. And so it's almost like living here feels like I'm on vacation, and so I don't have that deep desire to be on the run all the time. I know a lot of people that do not feel that way about Puerto Rico, but it's mostly people that choose to just not have a good attitude about the place. They don't get out and explore much. They just come here to get their days counted, to get their tax incentives, and they're thinking about the next flight out. But if you take the time, there's so much to be enjoyed here, and I just feel like I don't even have like a crazy desire to travel anymore because I want to know and better understand this island. So when it comes to living here in Puerto Rico, like I mentioned, there's the challenges if you do not speak Spanish. There's always those challenges, but it goes back to attitude and expectations. Okay, so when it comes to island improvements, specifically in San Juan, there has been a massive shift. They are fixing the sidewalks, which is a really big deal because it is very easy to trip and eat shit because there are broken tiles in many areas of the main strip in Condado. They have been fixing those They've been fixing the fountains. They have been painting. There is construction everywhere. There has been a shift. And all of a sudden, I was thinking, it was like right after Christmas, I'm like, no one really works here in December. They take pretty much the whole month off to celebrate Christmas, which is awesome. And then it's like, did everyone like spend all their money? And then it's like the beginning of the year, they have to like get back to work because all of a sudden there are people working everywhere. There's improvements on buildings. There's new buildings going up. The sidewalks are being repaired. I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. It felt like things were just still for a period of time, but now it's been a shift and it's exciting to see all the improvements that are happening, and I think it's just going on all over the island, and I love to see it. Like, I want to see this place grow and flourish and just really maximize its potential. Puerto Rico has unbelievable potential. There's so much opportunity here. It's just, the government is so corrupt. Puerto Rico has an opportunity to like flourish and be a special place that is traveled by many people. I mean, we live on the island of enchantment, and you can't really sum it up in any better way. And so to see the progress that's been made, it's really special. It's really cool. I love to see it. It's a really cool thing. So when it comes to safety, well, you know, I've had 3 scooters stolen, 1 recovered because there was an air tag on it. I've had 2 spare tires stolen on the back of Jeeps. But at the end of the day, those are all user error, okay? I should have locked my scooters up. Should have put locks on my tires. Most of the things that have happened to me are my own faults, okay? I can get mad about the guy that stole my scooter, but you know what? I shouldn't have left my scooter unlocked to begin with. When it comes to personal safety, I really, you know, I'm not really a good person to ask when it comes to safety because I feel safe most of the time when I probably shouldn't. But I've noticed that Puerto Ricans are really fearful of each other, but I don't find a reason to be afraid. I feel quite safe here. I feel safer here than when I'm back in California for some reason. I feel safe here. Some people might not say that. I know some people have had bad experiences. I don't know if there's this fear amongst Puerto Ricans because of what Puerto Rico used to be at a period of time. Maybe like some people talk about my particular neighborhood being like unsafe and I shouldn't be walking around at night. I just don't understand. I don't. Nothing bad is happening around here in my particular area, but some people are quite fearful. I just don't understand why. I feel very, very safe here. There was some times where I didn't feel safe when basically I was under attack for being someone from the States that has moved to Puerto Rico. Even though there's more Puerto Ricans in the States than there are actually in Puerto Rico. And so people were sending me death threats. I don't even remember exactly what the reason was, but the good news is that most of them were in Spanish, most of the death threats. And I had to click C translation, but thankfully I know how to set some boundaries and not like go through all the super negative comments. And I am sure that I have passed by people on the street that have sent me death threats, but I don't know, you know, it still just doesn't really scare me that much. I'm like, why am I gonna live in fear? I mean, Puerto Rico is so great beyond that it's just like, I'm like living in the clouds, it feels like here, so why am I gonna get caught up in like people that probably won't even do anything to me, and it's out of my control. Something bad could happen to me anywhere in the world, so. Well, that's pretty much it when it comes to Puerto Rico. This place is beautiful, this place is stunning. I told myself 3 years, and now it's been 5, and people always ask me, you know, when are you leaving Puerto Rico? I'm leaving Puerto Rico when it's not fun anymore, but guess what? It's fun, it's an adult playground. I feel like I'm living my best life here. The sunshine in your eyes every morning. You just really can't comprehend that. The energy of the ocean, having the coldest Medalla with an ocean view, feeling the crisp air in the mountains overlooking El Yunque, golfing with the sun out, watching the iguanas belly flop into the ponds. It's just like, damn, I live here.